afternoon. This is the Government Operations and Regulations Committee of Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. I am detecting a quorum with myself, Councilmember Benton, Eastlick, Hill, Nash, and Webb. All right, and there's Councilmember Ellis. No one has signed up for public comment, so we can move on with the agenda. Hannah, am I correct that items 2, 3, and 4 on our agenda will be deferred?
They
get deferred like that.
yes, you can defer and re-refer.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started with that, and we'll skip to items 2. That's RS 2024-482, Porterfield Bradford, a resolution adopting a new pay plan for the general employees of metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County, excluding employees of the Health Board, Board of Education, Fire and Police, effective July 1st. RS 2024-483, Porterfield Bradford Evans, a resolution adopting a new pay plan for employees of the Metropolitan Department of Police and Fire, effective July 1. RS 2024-484, Porterfield Bradford Evans, a resolution adopting a new pay plan for employees of the Metro Board of Health, effective July 1. So a motion to defer one meeting with a re-referral to Government Ops.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right. I've got 7 in favor, none against, none not voting on those 3. We'll go to the top resolutions on public hearing. Item number 1, RS 2024-479 Coupon. This is a resolution exempting 62 units located at 160 2nd Avenue North from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a short-term rental property non-owner occupied permit pursuant to Metropolitan Code of Law, Section 628030B2D. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right. Second?
Second.
All right. Councilmember Coupon, you want to go ahead? The floor is yours.
I would love to. Thank you, Chair. So STRs, Airbnbs, not usually a huge fan of approving, especially 62 of them. But in this case, I think it falls outside of the norm of how I would evaluate STRs. This is along 2nd Avenue in the area that was damaged severely by the bomb. So we are working hard to redevelop that area and bring growth back to it. And with the rising construction costs and development costs, things like that, it's become a challenge to get some of those properties back up and running. The rest of the downtown code permits STRs. The only reason this comes before us is because it is less than 100 feet away from Riverfront Park. So there's now a bill that says if you're less than 100 feet from park, as you all know, it would need a distance waiver. This is away from Riverfront Park, which is technically a park space, but not really utilized as a park with swings and basketball and baseball and things like that. So to me, I see no issue approving this. I think, to me, the intent of that bill was not for a downtown code property 100 feet from Riverfront Park. It was intended for other areas and situations, so I'm supportive of this measure. I know Councilman Allen had some questions yesterday, but to my understanding, she's spoken to the developer and had those questions answered as far as making sure that there's management on site and appropriate ID checking and things to make sure that this doesn't become a party development, but something that is reasonable for the neighborhood. So would ask for y'all's support, and we do have the developer here as well for if they've got any questions.
I'm just curious. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Have you had discussions with the neighbors? Because I know there were, at least before the blast, there were a lot of permanent residents in that area. What kind of discussions have you had with those folks?
So, to my understanding, this was publicly noticed, so anyone in that area would get that notice. I've tried to do some outreach, have not heard back since the blast. There really is not a lot going on over there, sadly. So, yeah.
Thank you,
Councilmember Webb?
Were they short-term rentals in the beginning, or?
Can I ask the developer to answer that question?
I'm curious.
Tom Lowe with T2 Capital, developer petitioner. It was Spaghetti Factory ground floor, and then above it was 32 units of apartments on 2 stories in an atrium setting.
So part of the redevelopment, John Cooper, Holland and I representing T2, is to add 2 floors. They've met with historic Hastings Architecture's doing the design work. So it'll be adding 2 floors to replicate the existing 2 floors and then bringing in a new restaurant at the ground level.
Thank you.
Councilmember
Will
Nash.
these necessarily all be short-term rentals?
We are asking for approval of all to be short-term rentals, correct?
Doesn't necessarily mean that they all will be. I mean, they can go back and
And more
forth.
important, sorry, John.
So that, yeah, just to know that
There
they're.
might be somebody who just wants to live there.
And the good thing about these units is they're not designed like your typical short-term rental unit where you don't have a real kitchen. I mean, these are actual livable units that, depending on market, can be long-term apartments.
Gotcha, thank you.
And I'll just add closing discussions on this. You know, it's no secret I'm not a big fan of non-owner occupied. However, I do believe that there are certain parts of the city where they make sense and they do belong. Downtown is one of those areas. Our suburbs is not. And so I'm inclined to, support this because I believe Second Avenue is probably one of the prime locations where you'd want non-owner occupied short-term rentals because it's a tourist area. You're wanting to bring people down to the businesses that are down there already. So I'll be voting in favor of this. Any further discussion?
One more silly question, O'Reilly. Parking.
It has 19 stalls on the lower level accessible from First Avenue. First Avenue is actually one grade below Second, so we're maintaining the existing 19 stalls.
All right.
I have a question. So
ahead.
how did you all get it passed through historic?
The addition John referenced, Hastings has prepared plans. We went to planning. They said defer to historical. They're going to drive the bus here. And so Hastings plans respects setbacks that historic requires. So we're 30-foot setback of Second Avenue, 10 off of First. And then if you are standing on the sidewalk across the street from Second, you're not supposed to be able to see the addition, so it's further setback. Same thing from First. So there's been enough plans and studies to validate that we can do it, and name escapes me.
Robin Ziegler.
Robin has not an approval, but says it does comply without a formal.
Because you changed your plans to meet the guidelines?
So you're right. The guidelines have, if you're going to go taller, you have to be set back, or stepped back, which they're doing. And then there are sight lines, as he mentioned, from Second Avenue that as long as you're, it's not visible.
If you're standing on the street, you can't tell that there's next
Right.
floor.
And we didn't change plans. We designed it that way, knowing that historic needs to be respected. So
Okay.
it was not a change of plans because we got feedback. We started with that, which was compliant. So we're really not looking for any relief on A&E.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions or discussion on this one? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Lee, I'll mark you as not voting since you weren't here for the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to the last two items on the agenda. I had listed these as consent. I'll go ahead and read them. If y'all want to pull one of them off, just let me know. I've got RS 2024-494, Porterfield Bradford, a resolution accepting the terms of cooperative purchasing master agreement for cellular services and equipment for the ITS department. And bill on second reading, BL 2024-376, an ordinance creating the positions of 311 call center manager, 311 call center supervisor, criminal intelligence analyst 1 and 2, criminal intelligence unit manager, unit supervisor, family safety advocate senior, helicopter mechanic, helicopter maintenance supervisor, industrial control system specialist, logistics supervisor, office family safety assistant director, police chief, risk and compliance manager, service and security officer 1 and 2, waste services assistant director, waste service director, youth case manager 1, case manager 2, case manager 3, and zoning examiner 2.
You may want to approve and re-refer this item 6. That's what was done in Budget and Finance.
All right, I'll go ahead and then take that one off.
Third reading.
I'll go ahead and take these off consent. We'll do these one at a time. All right, so item number 5, 494. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on this one? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? All right. All right, item number 6, BL 2024-376. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right. And you said the motion should be deferred with referral?
Approve and re-refer, because you want it to move off of second reading.
Okay.
This tracks with the pay plan. These are just the new classifications that go into the pay plan that are not in there today. So they track with the budget.
That's what we're going to read the questions. helicopter in the budget.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve and re-refer?
We do.
Gary?
Second? All right. All right, go ahead.
Do we know what the new police assistant chief will do over?
I'm sorry?
Do we know what the police assistant chief, the new one? These are all new positions. Do we know what that's going to be supervising?
They will be reporting directly to the chief. It'll be between the current deputy and the department director of the chief.
Which division, or do we know?
I don't think they'll be associated with the division.
Well, they're overseeing either patrol or investigations or their community engagement. If you don't know, that's okay. I'll
I
ask.
don't know.
Okay.
I think it's intended to be the way, it was requested by police department and the police chief to create this position. I think it's intended to be like a true number two. Some deputy directors, when they are used across government, are typically just one position. And I think some of this organizational has morphed and changed as the needs of the department have, and I think he is looking to add a position that becomes a true number two if he is unavailable.
So basically, all the deputy chiefs would report to the assistant chief, who then reports to the chief.
That's our understanding of this organizational change that was requested by the chief.
Go
If I
ahead.
haven't gone a while. Deputy chief was above assistant chief while I was there.
Yes.
It's a little backwards.
Yes, absolutely. But I think over time, it's morphed, especially as we change from police chief to a newer police chief. Structurally, there are kind of two that kind of function in that way for right now, but I think Chief Drake, I know he has looked at other cities. He is looking to probably replicate a model where there's a true number two. That would be the typical style here at Metro. When you have a deputy, you usually only have one, and it's a true like number two. I think that's what he's trying to replicate here.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Go ahead,
I
Councilman.
got a question, and it's not an important question, but I was just curious, on the helicopter, I know fire and rescue have, they're in a state program, with they use that program for what they do. What's the police using their helicopter for? I'm just curious.
Actually, for sometimes patrol, investigative, I mean, they are playing a pretty major
29
role.
is street racing.
Yeah.
So that,
Especially when you don't
I
have-
was just curious, I mean, I knew
You
they
don't
had a
have cars
purpose. I was
in
just.
dangerous pursuit, they're actually a really helpful tool. They have been asking us for a while to create a classification that's more specific, because those needs and talents are very specific to that kind of equipment.
Yeah.
So they had been asking for this, so that's why it was created.
Plus, I remember the conversations a couple years ago. These helicopters were supposed to also serve as a search and rescue component, because the helicopters we had at the time didn't have the winches, didn't have the ability, like if you needed to get someone off the top of a building or out of something, these new helicopters should allow that. All right, any other questions?
Just in
Go ahead.
29, so it flies, it does the street racing tracking, and they fly like with the night vision, so they don't have any light, so it definitely has to be someone skilled.
Okay.
And it has helped a lot, yes, yeah, very much so. And they fly really, really low,
Did through mine as well about 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
All right, pending
I'm
any,
about to start looking, see if
So
they
if you
come
get
in behind.
any constituents that say, why is there a helicopter in our neighborhood that doesn't have lights?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, pending any other further discussion or questions, go ahead and vote on this one. All right, all those in favor for approval and re-referral? All right, any against? All right, with that, our agenda is complete. If there's not any further questions or discussion, we stand adjourned.